the Spartans.
I gave up everything and moved to Donbass to help people.
I cowardly ran away from the reality that disgusted me.
Why were your elbows crushed?
Don't you notice that we're saving people here and nobody cares about it, like?
What did you put yourself in prison for at the time?
Shot 2 people in the head.
Mountains of corpses.
And they will take them to the organs. They will torture them.
I would run from this place wherever my eyes look.
And then the mines begin to fall, and he can fly here at any moment, but these territories, where we are already going, they are all being shelled. Is that why they came to kill us?
Yes, this is normal. What?
He's going to fly here now.
He's going to fly here now. Why do you think I decided to talk openly with you?
Maybe you just don't have anyone to talk to. All right, I don't know. Maybe because I don't give interviews to anyone, and you thought, maybe I need to get this guy. And in general, I gave up easily.
You have been living in Donbass since the 14th year, and when you moved here, all the media were full of headlines. A famous, young, talented director gave up everything and moved to Donbass to help people. I really want to figure out from the very beginning what you left, what you came to, why you did it, what prompted you to do it. So, I want to start from the beginning, from your childhood. Can we?
Yes, of course. Why not?
And tell me, please, Lesh, about your parents. What family were you born into? What do you remember the brightest in your early childhood?
I would probably make such a remark for all journalists in principle, because this one, as you said, is the most colorful headline from my non-existent past. He prevented me from communicating with journalists for a long time, in principle, because they wanted to be interviewed all the time. And all the questions were like, you are a famous young director, you are leaving for the Donbass in the 14th year. How did you make this decision at all? I say, it wasn't like that at all. Well, I'll tell you later in general how it really was. My childhood began at 4. Well, in fact, a smile is always a moment when I always have this protective mechanism. If I have to tell something very important, and probably very frank, I smile too. So keep a smile on your face. My mom gave birth to people like me. There are 5 people like me. I mean, I have 4 brothers. They're all from different fathers. But in fact, she struck us, one might say, in order to ask for alms. She even had a criminal case for the fact that she once stole someone else's child in order to ask for this favor from her. Here, and when the child got older, and apparently smarter, he was kind of just thrown away. All my mother's money, they went to some kind of drinking, to some parties, to which no one ever invited you, of course. But I remember this 91st year, the city of Lisky, I was transferred to a receiver-distributor. They bring you to the receiver-distributor and treat you initially as a criminal, a scoundrel. However, probably not by chance, because most of the children were just like that. I was beaten very badly. They were so huge. There was a woman there who was so manly. She beat me with these huge keys from the Pudlovs.
In one of the interviews, it seems to me, of the 12th year, you say the following: sinful entities originate in childhood. What do you mean by that? And what sinful entities appeared in your childhood?
Well, no. Actually, I don't have anything that I could do there. I would never allow myself to abuse another person. I would be there, I don't know. I would kill myself faster than I could afford something like that. We were one society of small, gray, dirty, sloppy, useless children, and you are, as it were, on your own. That is, there is no one who would tell you they're about sexual education, about family values.
At what point did you make a promise to yourself to help all children?
When I got to boarding school, I had a friend. His mother left him to. And he was much older than me. And he read me a children's Bible. And I wasn't thinking about just getting out of this hell. And I made a vow to myself that when I grew up, that I would. Well, when I grow up, I will try to help as many of the same people there as possible. That is, it sounds nice. Like when I was 7 years old, I said to myself there, I'm such a good fellow. Fortunately, this is true, but most children have no chance at all. No one will really talk to them. Most likely, it may be that they will be given some kind of apartment, then some uncle from the outside will come and buy this apartment for a song, and they will remain homeless, because they have never held in their hands there, I don't know, 100,000 rubles, for example. You don't have parents. You don't really have a secure future in any way. We do a storyboard for 10 minutes and start writing a prompter. Today our task is to release about 10 rounds of ammunition on the tank. We have a good tank. We have already beaten it up enough, but it is ready to take the blows of fate. Here you are, Thracian. What is your craft? I'm plowing the land, king. The Spartans. What is your craft? Tatter. Where are you?
I'm sorry. Who shot? I'm a patrol.
It was a cumulative ammunition of 122 millimeters, and so that 400 millimeters of armor penetrates.
What kind of gun is this? What kind of aiming range does it have there? Killing power? Or what is it right there?
In general, what? This gun is 122 millimeters, penetrates 400 millimeters of armor with cumulative ammunition. There are fragmentation. There are high explosive fragmentation ammunition. And this gun is irreplaceable at the front. It is very mobile. It is convenient. And now it is very popular in the troops, because ammunition is generally not so difficult to find. She can shoot like a cannon. That is, as we are going to do now. This is the meaning of cumulative ammunition. When you see with a direct aim that the enemy's equipment is moving, you're going to come up and be surprised, because the cumulative jet, you know, the cumulative jet, there is a lot of talk about this. Like, some say it burns through, some say it pushes through, but in fact, it kind of washes out the metal. So let's go take a look. I recommend it. It will be a good sight. In short, I aimed here, but I hit the upper vault. In short, I aimed at the lower part. I hit the upper part. Once planted the right way, you know, the most important thing is to plant it correctly, as they say, so that there is a breakthrough. Because 400 millimeters punching, then 122. But as we can see, the tank is still not penetrated. That is, of course, everyone in it would be shell-shocked if they were not conditionally wearing headphones. Perhaps they would have received some serious injuries. Because where the commandos are shooting at you with a D-30 cannon, in general, I would not call this trip entertainment.
Listen, and sometimes you have such a thing that some very competent person, an expert in this matter, looks at you and says, "Kid, why the hell are you shooting wrong, standing in the wrong position, explaining it the wrong way?"
It's constant.
How do you react to such correct criticism in general?
And I would not say that this is the right criticism.
But there is a possibility that you are doing it wrong.
You know, everyone is tired of such a winning content. When everyone leaves, here's a cartridge for you. Here you loaded it. Here you signed for it. Each fighter has such a style of handling weapons. That is, it's as you know, as I don't know. There's some dude there who can't shoot a revolver the coolest there. He has fractions of a second there that are of significant importance for shooting. And it's the same here. The Commandante is a free image of, let's say, a universal soldier who does not play tactician, because, as you can see, I am practically not in tactician clothes at all. That is, I have nothing but pants and a t-shirt. I don't have a super bulletproof vest, super active headphones. Therefore, everything regarding professional advice from instructors, well, I certainly listen when I completely respect. Yes, it happens. But everything about my narration, my manner of handling weapons there, and so on, it's even more developing. Why? Because, for example, the grenade F1, there the engineers made a mistake in the description and wrote that the scattering of fragments is 200 meters. Here, and de facto, I check it. I can throw a grenade like that, this thing, just sit down, and maybe it won't kill me. That is, I also show that here I am putting a grenade, and I can calmly run away with a walking run. This is necessary so that people are not afraid to interact with grenades. Because sometimes the mobilized people there are so terrified of this grenade that they either throw it without pulling it out of their hand, and then they have it like this, or they throw it into the trench and so on.
But it's like you don't value your life. Is that why you're doing this? Are you testing yourself?
No, it may seem from the outside that I don't value my life. I just know, let's say, the presence of some ammunition. There's TNT, grenades, flying fragments, and I really checked it for myself. And that is, I'm not a Cooperfield. I just know how much unreal spread I have. That is, I don't need to shout there, run behind the tank. I can throw a grenade like this, for example, and nothing will happen to me, because I know that this grenade is offensive.
Yes, but now we were sitting right over there. Well, something flew to us there. From here. How many meters is that?
It's only because you were there. If you watch the movie Samnambula, there appears the village of Dokokino and the village of Sisoevo. This is the Nizhny Novgorod region. My supposed father lived there, but in fact, he certainly had nothing to do with me. He's just from my grandmother's stories. He met my mother on the train. He knew that I wasn't from him, as it were, because she was pregnant at the time of their meeting, and they got married and lived either for 6 months or for some more time together. But I, in general, inherited the surname, and I don't remember how old I was. That's the feeling that I was either 3 or 4. Here I am, right very small. Here, and I remember how this father hated me, that he tried to close me in the bath, completely flooding it, leaving me propped up. It was grandfather Alexander who saved me. Another time he tried to drown me. He threw me into the current, into the river. And I remember these bubbles in front of my eyes, and grandpa's hand, he pulls me by the hair. When I was in boarding school, I told this story, and they tried to contact them, and then they contacted me when my great-grandmother arrived, and the director told me that they had come with you. It was a great-grandmother. Here, but I call my grandmother Mom, because when my great-grandmother brought me to her, she had 7 of her children and 5 of us. We ate potatoes and milk. For me, chicken is generally elevated to the rank of royal food, because the only time we ate chicken was once a year on New Year's Eve. I went. My grandmother died of cancer, and when I came to her just before her death, we were sitting, it was New Year's Eve, she brought this chicken to the table, and I just burst into tears. But you know, sometimes you have this feeling when you cry like this, that is, when you are not just crying, yes, but you literally sigh from how bad you feel. It's internal, because this is a secret dude. And you don't open it and don't even look there, because if you look there, it's... There were other events before that. Art Center for Gifted Children of the North, abbreviated as TS. These, and these gifted children of the North were searched for in all corners, in all villages. For us it sounded like, I don't know, New York Film Academy or Oxford University. Well, that is, if not now, then never. There's a tall, handsome man there. His name is Anton Yakovlev. And here he says, what can you do? I say, I can sing. He asked me to sing. I sang him a late night in Sorrento.
Why this particular song?
I don't know, because I thought I didn't want to sing pitiful songs. I wanted to sing Late Night in Sorrento. Can I sing?
Of course.
Late evening in Sorrento. We are not spoiled by the weather. That's the end of summer. Goodbye, Italy. I thought that if there is Sorrento, Italy in the song, and it sounds foreign somehow, it will probably make a greater impression. And I studied for several years, and there was such a very shameful story for me, probably the most shameful story of my childhood. There were Christmas trees, very beautifully decorated with these toys, which I have never seen. And all the time, I wanted to tell my grandmother about how we live here in style. Like Grandma, look at what cool conditions we have. I stole probably 10 or 20 of these plastic toys here.
Here.
And of course, I am very ashamed, but I was expelled from the art center for this reason. Here, and eventually, the grandmothers come and say that everything, the mother is alive. No one knew where she was. She was not deprived of parental rights. And considering that, probably, the mother is alive, like they shouldn't be here. Children live as if in poverty. Children live without security. We're kind of being reprimanded.
Did they want to send you to the internet? Take it from Grandma.
No, we were just told that let's give this crowd of children here somehow, so that they get out of our village, from our municipality. Simple.
Statistics. Yes.
And we come to live in Khanty-Mansiysk. My brother was given a dormitory in a vocational school here, and I was kind of trying to get into the 10th grade at school. Well, you see, I don't have a methodology for how to communicate with people. I don't have documents, and I don't know what to do. I understand that I need to learn somehow. I contact the social service. They say, you have a living mother. Look for her into something. All I ate was Alexandra to Sofia. These are such beach packages. I handed over bottles, and with this money, I bought these Alexandra and Sofia. Here, moved, I was just sleeping in a baggin. Well, that is, quite a grown-up guy who lives in some kind of beach conditions. I was sleeping in a bag of things. I have it there.
That's it. Quite grown up. How old are you? 17.
Years.
16, right. Well, yes. Tell me, please, how did you get into journalism?
I read in the newspaper that a photojournalist is required for the newspaper our district. I come to this editorial office and say, guys, I want to get a job in your editorial office of the newspaper our district. They say, all right, bring your diploma, bring your documents, bring rave reviews of your work from other jobs. And at this moment, I don't have a passport yet. I say, well, give me a chance. I'll learn to write. I can write. He says, well, come on. I'm giving you a task now. You have to write that here is the mayor. Well, this our district head of the Khanty-Mansiysk district came to the village of Ishik to congratulate everyone on the national holiday. And here is the data. That's it. So I'm coming in the evening. You have an article. He arrives a few hours later, and I haven't even typed a sentence yet, because I've never had a computer. I don't know what it is. And I'm sitting there, just looking for the letter and how it is. And there's, well, just such nonsense. That is, there's just a sentence like there. Yes, there I saw that someone had arrived there. He says, what did you have in Russian? I say, well, give me a chance. Well, just please, let me just clean for free, and I don't have to pay anything. I'll just clean and walk for free. And in short, in the end, he already hires me, and I work for free for 6 months, clean up there, peek at what they are doing there. And when I later began to master this typing, because I practically practiced around the clock on the computer. When everyone left, I spent the night in this editorial office. I printed it all there, tried in short, and eventually I was accepted into the editorial office. In the 2004 year, I received a passport on the basis of a court decision, forged a certificate of the 11th grade, and entered the correspondence department of the Uber State University. Then I met a guy, his name is Pasha Tarakanov. He was building a youth policy in Chechnya during some vague events that were not very clear there. And he actually helped me find the money to make a social film.
Was he a success?
Yes, he had some success. We took some kind of Grand Prix, or the main one, having stuck, I don't remember, at a social film festival together. That's how I was recognized as the director of this picture. That's how I ended up in Moscow. Pasha Tarakanov invited me there to Moscow to actually produce his first feature-length film, which was called Somnambula. But I didn't know many pitfalls, like, for example, your operators probably know that 25 frames per second from Canon 5D Mark II cannot be put on film, and it needs to be cut off 24K, and this is a loss of a second. This is generally a hard desynchronization, and this generally affected the quality of the film hard.
Explain it to me. We have sorted out the first film, of course. The second film, you're still, well, not so well known. You continue to be an unprofessional director, and by and large, well, you understand something about it. Well, not as much as you would like, but you have a team of people of some of the best.
Yes.
Your office is in the center of Moscow. You have a premiere in October. Where did you get the money?
This one.
How did you do it at all?
This is Pasha Tarakanov. He brought me together with the guys. They had their own gas stations here, and in the end, they allocated about 10 million rubles for this film. We planned to raise money from this film, Namble himself, because he had a penny budget. And the next film that we planned to make, the film was called Arky. Ardor Smolyanov, who is not with us today, unfortunately, was filmed there. Sasha Petrov from the Moscow Art Theater was filmed there. Well, that is, you know, yes. What is a bohemian Moscow life when you are invited? Given that I had for people, I had Renata Garofalina, really the best person probably in this. She took me to all the premieres. In other words, this imposter syndrome continued to fill up with me, in general, because I have
Introduced you to people.
It wasn't like there was a lot of money, although they always attribute to me that life, a famous rich director down, through everything for the sake of Donbass. That's why it's not true. Because I didn't really have a lot of money. I'm here because I haven't finished this movie, Arky's movie. I have brazenly spent the money of these producers to help these people. And many people attribute to me some super qualities like this, that here he is a famous director. He finished everything for the sake of people. This is certainly not so, because I was cowardly running away from the reality that disgusted me. Because I was an imposter in Moscow. I wasn't any famous director or producer. I was just a goofball who wanted to survive in this world and did everything that depended on me for that. I started having conflicts with the film crew, including Petrov with this one, because he knew that I had no education, as everyone knew about it. And he said, so should I play Stanislavski or Chekhov? I didn't have the courage or the professionalism, and in principle, I didn't have enough endurance of some kind, because again the world turned against me, and I had to fight it. I didn't want to fight anyone, I just wanted to do something kind, and this help to Donbass, which began in the 14th year, was my attempt to save myself. I invested this money, and then these producers, they sued me for this money. I gave them away for another 5 years afterwards. And through the court. Yes, this is not a very honest act. That is, I attach producers, I attach the project. In other words, it's not a heroic story. It kind of doesn't even really characterize me there.
Saving himself.
And not from the best side, yes. So, this is our task. We are going to star Mikhailovka now.
So,
the Ukrainian positions are 1.5 kilometers away. Kamikaze drones, F-drones, drops. All of this is present, as in any other place. Our task is to come to these advanced streets and distribute humanitarian aid to the residents of this settlement.
Why are we going there?
Let's just say I went to the Zaporozhye direction. I went to the Kherson direction. The main war, it seems to me, is still unfolding in the Donetsk agglomeration here, because there are no such fierce battles anywhere. Because here it's like without an F-drone that would decide to hunt for you. You won't walk 3 or 4 kilometers along the front there. Like, hello there, I want to help here. Here is Staromkolovka, where we are going, and now there is, as it were, a part of the settlement destroyed, and people. Well, that is, it is not necessary to go somewhere to help, like very far away, like to Kherson, to the Zaporozhye region. You've got a few kilometers right next to you. There are literally Ukrainian troops standing kilometers away, and civilians are suffering next to them. That's why we're going to Stary Mikhailovka. It is not far from the city, and at the same time, it is definitely a place where people, of course, very much need humanitarian assistance.
You've been living here for 9 years. During this time, a long time, and for her own. How many people have you lost, close or not so close friends?
Listen, but since the 14th year, of everyone I knew, 90% of these people are gone. How to say a lot of friends? Yes, I have absolutely. I almost don't make friends now, because there are fewer of them. And it's always a shame. It's a shame to bring friends among the military in general. You only got them together once. Months later, he was gone.
Is it possible to get used to it when you lose loved ones?
Yes, of course. You get used to it perfectly in general. The more loved ones you lose, the more you attract. Well, like you stop.
You say.
Without any, what kind of irony can there be? We have volunteer cynicism. It originates over the years, first of all. And in order not to lose yourself, in order to preserve your nervous system, so that conditionally there is not. Your nervous system has not fallen. There is some kind of cardiac, vascular system. Your task is to save yourself, and you're like this. Well, yes, I'm going to kill myself on this person with my head on the table, and it won't do anything. That is, you will not be able to continue to help people or anything else. Well, now I have a volunteer group that's worn off. Two left. No, we have...
I'm exhausted. Let's explain.
Well, in general, to waste away in our understanding is like to die. Here, and the volunteers are with us. Well, it's just that someone can't stand it, because it's not easy to carry food under fire. You need to drop all these stories about what you want to eat, right, poop. Focused on the fact that the sky is not just above you. It's like there's a bunch of copters on it that are watching you, that can attack you at any moment. And you need to drop everything inside and focus on the outside. In other words, your task is to give away the packages. Your task is not to die, but to die very easily. You stopped being afraid of these distant exits, stopped squatting, and one of the exits may be the last. Here we are counting. Here we drove away from the city a little bit, right? Look here. Here's a conditional. Here's a map, right? Here we are going here now. Old Mikhailovka. These are Ukrainians. Here are Ukrainians here. Here are the Ukrainians. Well, that is actually these territories where we are already going. They are all being shelled. No one predicts arrivals. You wake up in the morning, you go to eat, cook something else. Bam, arrival. You have a minus house, or there's a minus summer kitchen, or there's a minus car. And that is, people here have new input data every day. Guys, remember, yes, Ukrainians will see us there in two places. There, as far as possible, we need to flood a little.
Lesh, how did you find yourself in the Donbass for the first time? Why did you come here?
The first time I was in the Donbass. It's hard to say. It was exactly in the 14th year, and people turn to me that they need to get children out of Kramatorsk. They are there in the basement under fire. And for me, there was some kind of dissonance, like, what kind of shelling? How is ours in general? I'm like, guys, well, like it's some kind of chess. You know, like, what kind of war can there be? We are living in the 21st century, already there. There are already VT people shaking their rights with might and main, and you are here for some wars. And they are in principle impossible in our time. What are you driving? The problem was that the Ministry of Emergency Situations did not have open funding for other territories. It was obvious that they were not coping, and we began as volunteers to spend this money, our artistic, film, debt actually, in order to settle these people somewhere. We have opened a sanatorium in the Moscow region. Well, as they opened it, it was there, but it was abandoned. We revived it, brought water there. Bowlers put a lot of things there, brought it, made a psychologist there, so that people would stay and live there for some time, like 2 or 3 months quietly, so that they could already get used to Russia. Well, that is, you know, when you leave the Ukrainian territory, from Slavyansk, where there is a war, you go to Russia, and you were scared on TV that the Russians, these are animals, orcs, murderers. They will take you out to the organs now. They will torture you. And of course, we were sympathetic to this. That's why we had psychologists with us.
It was hard to convince people otherwise.
In reverse,
yes. How long did it take at that time?
Up to a month passed, while people began to realize how. Be aware of and identify yourself in this conflict. Because, well, initially your most important desire is just to save yourself and your child conditionally.
Did you figure out at that time what was going on, who was right, who was to blame, who was bombing whom, or were you just saving people?
I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. That's when I went to Donbass. I slept 4 hours a day. I passed out, woke up, read some poems by Leonid Kornilev, or listened. It supported me. I took a shower in the bathroom, and then the lifeguard ran again. When you realize the injustice, but no matter how you need to figure it out, you see where the arrows are flying, where people are running from, right? And you understand that, well, actually, you just have to help pull everything out of this situation as much as possible. And then, when I arrived in Donbass, I already began to figure it out, because I was also interested in the question, isn't there something that the Russian army is really stirring up something there, and we are all building a niche here together? What is it? It's like we're not really there, but we're kind of actually there.
And how did you find out?
When Idar 3 was leaving the airport, I was taking humanitarian aid to Luhansk for the last time because I wanted to stop it, because I felt that it was dragging me down. On the 15th of August, we left for Lugansk. We had to go through Carteliginus, and so they just occupied the settlements of Novosvetlovka, Kryoshevodo, and they actually cut off our road and escape route because they started shelling the forest field from which we actually came. And I was traveling as part of the guys who are militia. They were just on their way, well, this time to a breakthrough in fact, and I didn't really know that. We were told to dismount abruptly and go to the forest field, and then the mines begin to fall, starting the Ukrainian plane. We get into some kind of sewer there, or, well, there's a trapdoor of some kind. We get into it. There I do not know how many people got there, 80 of us, or how many there. The plane survived this shelling. It was very scary. Here. And then we got out, and there was this huge dude. His name is Butcher. He has the call sign Butcher. Then I met the driver, the miner, there's a bike, and so on. These are all the people who in the future became my battalion, the Angel Battalion. We were told that, in fact, it is impossible to retreat because there are already, as it were, prepared to meet the enemy, and the Idar people will most likely pass us. I didn't understand what it means to pass, like in the sense they will kill us, and they said, well, most likely yes, and I say, and where these are not, there it is, that is, these Russian troops, where are they? They say, what kind of troops are Russian? We are the Russian troops. I say, what do you mean? You are a miner, you are a taxi driver, you are a commas driver, you are a butcher, who, after military service, worked as an overseer in prison. And where are all these Russians who should be making everyone's nightmare here, tearing it up all over there? He's talking, but they're not here. That's when I realized that this is not a war of Russians against Ukrainians, that this is a civil war of Donbass against that part of Ukraine that believes that Donbass is a republic that should not exist, and people there with the wrong opinion. That's when I realized that perhaps, yes, there is truth here, and it's worth staying here, and help further.
By the way, we are now in the center of Mariupol, once a very beautiful city. And just now, when we were a little further away, there on the next street, you told me something that if you knew how many people died here, mountains of corpses, including children. Did you see it with your own eyes?
Of course, it's on video. It's even a bunch of unpublished videos there. The fact is that the root cause of the fact that there were so many civilians killed here, the first reason, is that people were not evacuated from here. Everyone knew perfectly well for several months that the Russian army would storm Mariupol. As Zelensky said at the time, we're like, if we evacuated people, we would have given away even more territory and something like that. He talks all the time about money, about weapons, about territories, but never about people. Here.
So they didn't allow civilians to leave the city?
Of course, they didn't allow it. This has already become clear from the conversations of the people we are. Whom we evacuated, who were wounded, there were wounded. The city, as it were, actually existed existed as a whole. In other words, these are the first streets where the fighting broke out, and they were conditionally held there. At this time, it was possible to safely evacuate the entire population. That is, through the left bank, there is something else. In other words, there was no way to get out here, solve it, say that, okay, we understand that you want to storm, but let's get people out. There was no question of that. They made machine gun nests in the apartments of residential buildings. They locked people all in the basement, and people were sitting there, that's all. And that is, it is clear that the phrase to hide behind the civilian population does not find any ambiguity here. Of course, they were hiding behind the civilian population, and probably this is the only reason why Mariupol was taken for so long. Why? Because here I was doing a podcast with the guys from the Cascade, which part of Mariupol was also stormed. They say that we thought they were all evacuated, and were like fighting like, well, the enemy against the enemy. But at some point, there was a feeling that something was wrong there. Here, and we spent a little more time there, we explored everything with copters. We realized that there were living people there, civilians, and even then they changed tactics, and they already had to take more care of the basements, because the civilian population was all in the basements. And of course, when we saw these dirty people, it was terrible. It was once said that Zelensky is such a good actor, and he probably knows better how to lead us to peace. But in the end, he became a more bloody dictator, more than the same Poroshenko, the chocolate king.
Lesh, how do the cities of Donbass differ from all other cities?
The cities of Donbass, firstly, you will definitely not find Bandera Avenue on them, and secondly, every street here is a story. Because all the stops, well, if we talk not only about Mariupol, but also about Donetsk, about Gorlovka. They're lying somewhere. In general, Donetsk, for example, is called the city of millions of roses. For me, it has become a city of millions of carnations, because there are carnations everywhere. Because they died there, they died there, they died there. And for every person in Donetsk, this is a street, this intersection, this is a house, this is a stop. This is a place of tragedy for. Well, because it was a tragedy for everyone, as if the Great Patriotic War was for everyone. Because every second went to the front there, roughly speaking. Everyone went to the front. It was written. And it's the same here. Therefore, these streets differ in that each intersection is a story. The history of people. And here the stories are about people, and here they just think about people, because, well, unlike those people about whom I have already said, that it is more important than weapons, money and everything else.
And what kind of people are here? How do they differ from all other people who do not know what war is?
How are people different? You know. You get used to human grief very quickly, and so you asked, like somehow it's not stale and all that there, as you are used to. These people are walking the streets now, and they can fly here at any moment, and they know it. And it would seem, if they had said that there would be a missile strike in Moscow now, everyone would have fled. And these will not run away. They won't run away, because they absolutely know that sooner or later, they will die there conditionally, right? But this does not mean that living in permanent fear all the time. Yes, you can die. Yes, I flew in on the next street yesterday. Yes, I killed your neighbor, but today it's not you. As if you know, some kind of death with a scythe walks periodically, reaps, so to speak, its harvest. And today it's not you, and thank God. These people are different in that they have always surprised me with this, namely that they are not afraid. That is, there is shelling, and some kind of grandmother sells flowers there. So you understand that this grandmother was killed there, a couple of days later, there, conditionally, on the Emerald, right? But you kind of understand anyway that these people continue to live like this.
Lesh, let's talk about the Battalion of Angels. Why did you invent it, create it? What functions did it perform, or does it perform?
Well, in short, in war, electronic warfare means completely jam
средства радиоэлектронной борьбы
Communications are interrupted. Light is interrupted. In other words, people do not have the ability to charge their phones. People do not have some kind of connection. And imagine that your relatives are conditionally in a besieged city where they can be killed at any moment. You're worried, right? And we had such a story that we came to Lugansk, collected stories, talked to people there, and so on. I'm leaving. They uploaded everything to the internet. Their relatives were there. And moreover, their relatives asked us to visit them via contact. This is the address, please check. And so we went to the addresses, found various people wounded there, already dead there, and so on. And they brought the news. It was a kind of frontline mail. Because we went out, there was internet in Rostov. We came to places where there is no internet, and that's all. That is, you have a day of silence, and then once, you give out an answer to some people who are waiting for it. And this is the most expensive. This is the most important thing to know, that your relative, or there is a native person, or a child is conditionally alive, or bring them there, evacuate them, and so on. In other words, we did it all, brought food, evacuated, and so on.
How many people were there? Here we are, you said. How many people were there?
About us?
Yes.
Well, this is the group that I met in the environment, and it was like 5 people. The Angel Battalion. Why the battalion? The film was released at that time in cinemas. It was called The Battalion. I went to see this movie Battalion in Rostov. I had very disheveled feelings because I was so touched by this tragedy of these residents of Donbas that I was sobbing internally from injustice because I did not understand why people were not being evacuated from gray zones. Why like this? How does this even exist? Like you have children. You have a broken house in half. You have there at some point you are sleeping. A bullet flies over you because a machine gun breaks through the wall. Like, why are these people still staying there? And I had a misunderstanding of all these processes. And it overwhelmed me very much. And I wanted to scream. That is, at that time I was so in this process. I was overflowing with it. That it was just very painful for me. And I went to this movie Battalion and everyone seemed to be encouraging me to create some kind of organization or something there. I'm like, all right, let's have a battalion of angels. We were pulling people out, pulling out the wounded, and this was happening all the time. And there is no. But it's not that we have no equal here, but at any moment, we can form a rapid reaction group where military operations are taking place. We can pull people out without sparing our lives, that's all.
So you do this all the time, yes. Have you ever given up on this case?
No, of course not.
That's what scale you have reached. That's about how many people have you saved.
You know, I used to talk enthusiastically about these figures, but now I don't want to talk about these figures. Why? Because it's bragging that. Well, you know, I don't want to look like a hero in this interview of yours, honestly. A hero of the classic genre, like Mother Teresa and so on. So I'm not a hero. I like it simple. This is my hobby. This is my life. This is what I live. This is the process in which I run away from myself. And there, from all these stories about family, about children, about all this. I just don't want anyone to think that charity is about the fact that everyone loves you, everyone respects you. Of course not. You will be cursed. They will always think that you are stealing money. They will definitely think that you are sitting at the trough. And they will definitely think that you are having fun on their taxes.
Tell me, please, why were you put in prison at the time?
I was put in jail at the time just the same. Well, there were several reasons. The formal reason was the weapon, which is like I'm with a gun. Here, but me, when I got out of prison, I spent 9 months there, including certain tortures. I came out of the conclusion of this and made the decision that I would not take revenge on anyone, and I would not name names.
And who would you like to take revenge on? No names? Just who are these people who were here on the territory of Donbass?
Were they Moscow? These included. It was a story, including one financed by these producers, to whom I owed money. In particular, it was a story related to corrupt, let's say, security forces here on the spot. The reason was also that I openly show, for example, that people are fighting for bread. And when I showed it, it made some people very angry. The bottom line is that many have spoken out against me, and many of my so-called supporters, they abandoned me, gave up, and even gloated very much. I even talked to Khodorkovsky once. There is a former alpha here on our territory, a former Ukrainian who is fighting on our side. We talked to him after the arrest. He says, you know, when I looked at you that you were arrested, and you know, I felt such a slight gloating. And he says, only now, when you came out, I understand that everything that was said about you turned out to be untrue, that all these sins that were hung on you turned out to be husks, and that the reason was completely different.
And why was he gloating?
And he says, because, you know, he says, I'm getting old. And this kind of obscenity appears, or somehow, when it seems, well, a successful dude, somewhere he makes a beard all the time. He walks around so neat. But in any case, somewhere something is something, either the money or, that is, here is something that happens, where he is something that he is not clean, this happens. And he says, he says, gloated so sincerely, he says, and then when you came out, and I understand that you not only didn't leave, and didn't tell this story about these scoundrels who did this to you, to Russia, right, and you stayed, and the first thing you did was go to help at the front. He says, this is an act for me, and I understand that now I can tell you that I was wrong.
How did you find the strength to go out and continue doing this, but anyone else would have run away from this place wherever they look?
Yes.
And stayed there. Moreover, you continued to do it. How did you proceed?
You know, if in detail, yes, I was in solitary for a long time. Then I was in the punishment cell for a long time. A punishment cell is a place where they come to you very early in the morning, take up such an imitated bed, close it. There are cracks in the floor, there are rats, there are cockroaches, there are stinks from this duka, because it is broken. And here in this shithole, you have to stay 24/7. That is, you can't lie down during the day, of course. They go around all the time to make sure that you have everything, so that you stay on your feet all the time. Well, that is, it's kind of like that too. Easy. Torture. Yes. And I was threatened with 8 to 15 years. That is, they tried to help me. They tried to put me in jail under the article creation of an organized criminal group. That is, this is my Battalion Angel. These people who saved people. Like this is an organized criminal group. Here. And when the axe of justice hangs over you at the age of 8 or 15, but in fact that's all. That's not true at all. In other words, everything that is trying to award you is all untrue. And you start making excuses for yourself and for the court. And I burned matches, and with this ink from the ashes, I actually wrote a kind of acquittal. Like they give me the last word, and I say, so look, 10,000 saved, 400 buses. There are so many sanatoriums, so many saved, so much there, so much this, so much that. I remembered how many packages we distributed there, so many packages there. There are about 500,000 packages there, and I listed it all. And the further the whole story went, and I understood that I didn't have a lawyer. I had 3 hired lawyers, and not a single lawyer was allowed to see me.
Wait, at that moment you were in what territory?
In the DPI.
In the DPI. It was already considered our territory, and then...
This. It was considered the Republic of the Donetsk People's Republic. That is, there was the MGB, and we had the FS.
Oh, that is it.
And this is actually a different state.
Of course, that is, it happens in another state.
And my only hope was that Putin would get this information and so on. And there you look, sometimes there's a swimmer who saved 3 people there. There it is, bam to him. A medal immediately, there are some of these. And you're like, are you seriously not noticing me? Don't you notice that we're saving people here and nobody cares about it? Like, you seriously don't see what we're doing here? So many buses. It's not a state bus, it's ours. We don't take money from anyone. We do it all ourselves. And don't you notice us?
And I wanted, yes, to be noticed. notice?
Russians wanted to be invited. They just said, guys, you are great. We are glad that you are Russians, that you do not abandon Russians. But it hasn't happened yet, you know. And we are still doing it. And we were the first to fly into Volnovakha. And in Mariupol, we rescued people under shelling. Our car was shot from from all the guns that the Yaku has. We survived, pulled these people out there under shelling. And no one has ever said anything about it at the state level. It's as if everyone knows that there is the most famous humanitarian organization in the Donbas. This is Angel's battalion, but no one openly talks about it because I do not know. This dude was in jail. It's like we don't want to talk about it. Here, and I wrote the song Shoot. And here are these dudes who shouted at me. There was also such a concept to go on Skype. To go on Skype is you have to pull yourself up over the door, and there is such a grill at the top of the ventilation, and you can see each other directly. This is called going on Skype. And I got out there on this Skype, tapped something like that there, beatboxed, and started a law-abiding citizen. Lights are burning in the distance, and they think that gods and kings. Shoot. Blood is beating through my veins. There's a song in the plot, so the main character is a law-abiding citizen, like in the movie with Gerard Butler, when he was accused, put in prison, although he just avenged his daughter, right? In other words, he killed the people who killed his daughter and family. He's like a man who hasn't found it. He did not find the support of the state when the most expensive thing was taken away from him. Here, too, I sort of associated myself with a law-abiding citizen who would come out and just shoot everyone who these scoundrels are, who are corrupt officials. When I came out, I had an external one. I had this beard. They tried to shave me many times. And for me, it was a personal struggle. Well, that is, I was unconquered because I was beaten. Well, I did a lot of things there. I'm not going to tell you the details. You don't need it in principle. Because when I came out, they asked me, like, why didn't you leave? And I said, because these structures that drove me there and so on, they are all in the same boat with me. Because we're here now. That is, if I leave now, what will change from this? I know for sure that one thing will change. I will be blocked from entering the Donetsk People's Republic, and I will not be able to help people.
So what has changed in you since your arrest?
And at some point, when I was writing this last word for the verdict, I tore it up, because when I started listing 10,000 saved, there it is, there are 500,000 issued it, 200 billion packages there, 500,000 smiles I gave everyone, kissed, hugged a few more times. I realized that how low it is for myself to take these actions and now start listing them. Because I used to expect some kind of gratitude from people. I had vanity. I had this kind of excessive ambition. I liked being considered a hero. That is, there are people there, someone else. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, well, this is such an essence I have, such a heroic one, you know. And in fact, if something happens to me, then I would like there to be no mitigating circumstances.
And what?
For example, my childhood is difficult.
I'm not meeting the dough now.
Contusi, 2 pieces. I don't know. I didn't finish in the end. From the point of view of morality, I would have something to judge for. That is, well, like if we talk about George Orwell there, well, about the work of 1,984 thoughts of the form, because no matter how sincere my beliefs were. But this is not a criminal offense. This is just a conversation about morality, that is, about the moral component. That is, you are a volunteer who does some things, and from the outside, it looks like cool. Yes, cool, like a hero. And the fact that you do it only because you like to revel in some kind of glory, something else. There was no honest conversation about this, but then it happened. And when I came out, I went there hugging flowers and trees and so on. And I realized that all my records that were in this hateful state were invented. Well, it wasn't invented, or rather I wanted to describe it all, because I was ready to send it all out to a bunch of mailboxes when I came out, so that all the journalists would ask what kind of injustice exists here and all that. And eventually, I realized that if I talk about it, I will not
то
stop
я
by the
не
DNR.
заеду в ДНР.
I can't save
Я не
these
смогу
people.
спасать этих
Yes,
людей. Да, я
I can
смогу
be
там
there
в
in some
другой
other
какой-то
republic, something
республике,
else.
еще
But I
что-то. Но я
realized
понял,
that
что
just the same
как раз-таки
sincerity of
истинность
beliefs will be
убеждений
that.
будет в том, что
And what is the goal
какая
anyway?
все-таки
That
цель?
is,
То есть
you
ты
wanted to
хотел
help. You were
помочь.
offended.
Тебя,
The poor
бедняжку,
thing was
обидели,
beaten up
тут
here.
избили.
And
И
you're
ты
like,
такой, типа,
look what they're all
посмотрите,
like.
какие они все.
I'm so good.
Я такой
In other
хороший.
words,
То есть это
it's
ведь
the
то же
same as it
самое,
was
что и было
before.
раньше.
You
Ты
realize at
в
some
какой-то
point
момент
that
понимаешь,
you
что ведь
actually
на
did
самом
it
деле
because at the age of 7,
ты это
you
делал,
promised yourself
потому
that you
что
would help these
в
people.
7 лет ты пообещал себе, что ты будешь помогать этим
And
людям.
the fact that
И
you
то, что ты неправильно
misinterpreted this message
интерпретировал
after so much time,
спустя столько
and you
времени
started
этот
using it
посыл,
for some of
а
your
ты
own
начал это
mercantile
использовать
purposes,
в
that
каких-то
was the
своих
main mistake.
меркантильных целях, вот это и было главной
But
ошибкой.
it is
Но
important to repent
важно
in time
вовремя
and
раскаяться
start treating it differently.
и по-другому начать относиться к
And when
этому.
I
И
came
я,
out,
когда
I
вышел,
didn't collect anything
я
on
больше
any
не собирал
cards
ничего, ни
anymore.
на какие
We
карты.
created a
Мы создали
foundation,
фонд,
and we
и мы
started
начали
selling
продавать
knives
ножи
made
из
of
осколков.
shards. With this money
На
from the
эти
knives from
деньги
the shards,
от
they
ножей
cost
из
like
осколков,
20-30
они
thousand
стоят по
each.
20-30 тысяч.
We
Каждый.
encrust
Мы
there.
туда
Right
инкрустируем.
now,
Вот сейчас
they got up from the
из азов
basics,
стали, сделали
made a
новую
new collection
коллекцию
of fragments,
осколки.
and
И
people
люди
buy it
покупают
because it's
это,
honest.
потому что это честно.
You made something
Ты
with your own
что-то
hands,
сделал своими
you
руками,
sold
ты
it,
это
and with
продал,
this
и с
money,
этих денег
you can buy
ты
something.
можешь купить
Therefore,
что-то. Поэтому у
I
меня
don't
нет
have any
никаких
kind
там
of fees
типа
for cards and
сборов на
everything else
карты и
there.
все
That
прочее.
is,
То есть если
if there
что-то
is
есть,
anything,
то
it
это
is only
только
through
через
the official
официальные координаты
coordinates of the
фонда.
foundation. Not because I
Не
stole
потому что я
something there
что-то
once,
когда-то там
but
украл, а
because,
потому
in
что
fact,
по
all these
факту
stories about
все
throwing
вот эти
money on a
вот
card,
истории про
I'll
киньте
buy
денег
it.
на карточку, я куплю,
It's not
это
exactly
не
an
совсем
honest
чтобы
story,
честная история,
because,
потому
well,
что
no one can
никто не
verify
может это
it. And from
проверить. И
here,
отсюда
there were
было
a
очень
lot
много
of
кривотолков
misconceptions about the
относительно
origin of the funds
происхождения
on which I live.
средств, на которые я живу.
Now I have
Сейчас у
1.5
меня
million subscribers.
1,5 миллиона подписчиков.
Advertising on
Реклама
my
на моем
channel
канале
costs
стоит
from
200 тысяч
200,000
рублей.
rubles. Each collection of my
Каждая
knives is
коллекция
sold in
моих
half a
ножей
day.
продается за
That
полдня.
is,
То
I
есть
can afford
200-400
2 or
тысяч я могу
400,000
себе
by
позволить,
selling knives once a week.
продавая раз в неделю ножи.
Here I am today.
Вот. И
My phone
сегодня
doesn't break like it used to.
у меня не разрывается телефон, как это было раньше.
No one
Никто
confesses
не
to me.
признается мне,
Well, it's rare for
редко
anyone to tell
кто
me they
признается
love me
мне в любви,
because I'm
потому
a
что я
super lifeguard.
суперспасатель.
So,
Так, ну давай
well,
по параллельной улице
let's go
налево
to the
ходим
parallel
и
street to the
там
left and
раздаем.
distribute there. So, here is the last
последняя
street to the
улица
Ukrainian
до
positions in
украинских
which we are
позиций,
going.
к которым мы едем.
Here she is, you
Вот она,
see,
видишь?
walking. Then
Дальше
Ukraine
вот
begins.
Украина.
Therefore,
That is,
Поэтому
we are now going straight specifically to the side.
the front line,
переднюю
yes.
линию, да.
The front line. Hello, and we have brought you humanitarian aid.
Yes, it happens.
Does it happen? Yes. Thank you very much.
Give me 2 bags.
Come on again. What's your name?
Marina Alexandrovna, these are our guests from Moscow. They just came. Sorry about the camera. We just want to show us how. Of course, we are undergoing here. We have stove heating here. We used to have, well, a little, but humanitarian coal was brought to us. And now at least I don't know what to do at all. For the 7th time, the windows are broken. There were like I can't hear it anymore. Like here, you know. I'm sorry I'm complaining to you. That is, no, that's right. That's what we're here for. I just think, well, we're just going to survive. You know, we've been holding on for so long. We were already hoping that it would be okay, as it is already. You can see that everything is broken, absolutely everything. And we can't stand the winter without coal. Oh Lord, forgive us for your sake.
That you'll help, right.
We understand, just live. Simple, but already wait to somehow. Well, no, I've been putting up with it for 8 years. Then you change it a heart attack hit. But I still want to wait until I cannot shake every day. I have nowhere to go. I have no other place to live. People are here somehow. Well, we have to. Well, we have endured so much. I've never complained, honestly. Well, it's just going to be winter. My pension has been recalculated all over them. Excuse me, please. All the best to you. Me, yes, me. We will bring you coal by mail. We'll bring the coal, I promise. To you, nothing else is needed. Arrival, that's it. We'll get back to you one of these days. What's your name?
Irina Alexandrovna. Hello. Or what? Well, are you sure or what? No, we are distributing humanitarian aid and food. Mine us? No, we can't clear mines.
Where do you have there? In the garden?
Yes.
Arrival. What's in the garden?
She killed our neighbor. The boy says, well, what are you? How are you there? I say, well, this is war for you. This is life for us. Well, we live by it. Well, some kind of storm, some kind of carrot, some kind of potato, you know. And he's like, are you assholes here or what? Are you morons? No, we're morons. We just live. We've been living in this whole nonsense for 9 years now. We say, well, this is war for you. This is life for us. We live every day, wake up, sleep. We have children here. We have grandchildren here. Our whole life goes by. The whole life goes on in this nonsense. Why don't they leave it? And where? Where to? Well, why should I leave? No. Well, it's scary. It's dangerous. Well, look, I've been living here all my life. I've been married for 26, 27 years. I came here. Why should I leave? Did I do something bad? I did something bad to someone. She did something bad to someone. Why should we leave? Well, where are we going? Why? 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 I had a grandson born in this whole thing. Do you understand? The grandson has to go to the first grade. The reason we have to leave. We haven't done anything wrong to anyone. You will throw what you earned with your labor to the forces. We collected some kapasheki, something we are there.
I finished the foundation itself.
You see? Yes, and we have. And our parents put this one on. Yes, this is normal. What? Why don't people leave?
Why don't people leave? A Russian person gets used to everything. And you know, it's when right now in Gaza, yes, people don't leave either. It would seem that 1,000 destinies are collapsing before their eyes. In other words, thousands are simply being destroyed by literally one shelling. They're like, okay, we're going to sleep outside, but where do we go? And it's just impossible to approach such a question objectively, because until you subjectively find yourself in these conditions, you will never understand how it is at all. And even more so, many Danchans, and many here, in fact, from the region, they have never traveled anywhere in their lives. In other words, they have lived their entire conscious life in these settlements. And someone comes along like, how old are you? 60? Oh, it's fine. It's time to move. And he's like, what? Where to? I have a chicken. I have a grave here. I have something else. And these are the little bindings that make up this phrase, I'm not leaving, because this is my home. Well, that's how it turns out. But in any case, this Palestinian-Israeli conflict has shown us what war is and how it differs from a special military operation, in fact, a police operation. Because if we also approach the question on, well, these SOFA experts are all shouting there, who are the red line, the black line, the brown line, and all that. If they had achieved what they wanted, and our president would have said, like, well, yes, you're right, this is a red line, let's. Well, as it were, I think many people understand that our capabilities are significantly superior to the Israeli ones, given that we now have the latest weapons, which just generally sweeps the fuck out of positions.
You once said that the American weapons, there are different Western ones, right? It's just a marketing flaw.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you mean by that? Explain.
That's right, because America, this is an advertising country. She pushes us that the cat is Shima. This is the most super modern weapon on which you can storm the positions of the enemy conditionally, and in fact, you can shoot through his hood with a Makarov pistol. This one. And what is it to stop a car for $1 million? Well, actually, with one shot from a Makarov pistol. That is, it is very stupid.
Something paper should go there.
Well, it is. That is an RPG. It is good because it has a large range of ammunition, from thermobaric ammunition to fragmentation, anti-personnel, burning through cumulative armor 500 millimeters, the most powerful ammunition, one gun, which shoots different ammunition, and they most often take either a cumulative or a fragment there. Here, But
Вот.
I
Ну,
don't want to
не
sound
хочу,
like a braggart,
показаться
like our
в
Soviet
основном,
weapons
что,
are
типа,
300
наше
times better.
советское оружие
Technically,
лучше в 300
their
раз.
weapons may be
Технически
superior
их
somewhere.
оружие,
For example,
может
the
быть,
same
где-то
in love,
превосходит.
or
Например, тот
javelin.
же Enlav или
Yes,
Javelin,
he hits
да,
the tank.
он поражает
Well,
танк.
that is, we can
Ну, то
say
есть можно сказать,
that
что даже
even a person can be
незамечен может
unnoticed.
оказаться
But at
человек,
the
но
same
при этом
time, what is his
его
cost?
стоимость
That is,
какая? То
our
есть наш
RPG-30,
RPG-30,
for
например,
example,
стоит
costs
83
83,000
тысячи
rubles
рублей.
at a
В то
time
время,
when
когда 2
2,600,000
600
rubles
рублей
is
стоит
worth one in love.
один
In
Enlav.
other
То есть
words,
это как
it's like
выстрелить
shooting a
Lexus'ом
Lexus or a Voven. Well,
или
in
Вованом.
short,
Ну,
And
короче.
whether it's our
Это где у нас
Kalish,
калаш?
yes, I'm absolutely right,
потому что
because
MG3
MG3 and FN Mac here we
и FN
tested
Mac
the
вот
other
мы на днях
day. A
тестировали.
little bit of dirt
Чуть-чуть
gets clogged
забивается
and that's
грязь,
it.
и всё.
And the machine gun doesn't
И
fire.
пулемет не
In
стреляет.
other words,
То есть он
he did
штатно
not
у нас
normally shoot at us
не
throughout
стрелял
the
на
entire
протяжении всей
shooting.
съемки.
Although, well,
Хотя,
there wasn't much
ну,
dirt
там
there.
грязи было не так много.
In contrast,
В отличие
the
от него, пулемет
Kalashnikov machine gun works flawlessly.
работает
Take
без
2 months
отказа.
ago,
Возьми 2
we
месяца
thought
назад, мы
that, in
думали,
short,
что,
everything,
короче, всё, щас
now the
придут
leopards and
леопарды,
us
и
will
нас
come. And that's it.
И
These
всё,
leopards
эти
are
леопарды
already
уже
burning in the
горят,
plantings.
в посадках.
These are
Это
exactly
точно
the
такие же
same cans
консервные
as the
банки,
Soviet
как
ones,
и
which are no
советские,
different.
которые ничем не
That is,
отличаются. То
they
есть
have
у
a
них
little better
лучше чуть
armor,
броня,
but you can't
но
trample
против
anywhere
арты
against
не
art.
попрешь
You won't do
никуда, ничего
anything.
ты не
It's
сделаешь.
one thing to
Одно дело
advertise this
прорекламировать
at
это на
some NATO training
полигоне
ground,
натовском
conditionally,
каком-нибудь,
that this one
условно, что
withstands 3
это
explosions, their
выдерживает 3
TM62, but in
подрыва
fact,
там
it does not withstand
ТМ-62,
any.
а по факту не
Well,
выдерживает ни
because
одного.
if you hit a little bit,
Ну, потому
as if
что
on a
если
landfill,
чуть-чуть
like
наехать как бы
norms,
на
and when you're
полигоне,
rushing
типа
at all
норм,
speeds,
а когда ты
and you
несешься
don't
на все
necessarily
скорости и
get hit by
попадаешь
this
не
wheel,
обязательно этим
then half of
колесом,
your MRAP
то
is
тебе
being
разносит
carried to you.
половину твоего
And that's
МРАПа,
it.
и всё,
Good
добрый
evening.
вечер.
Ukraine is a
Украина —
testing
это
ground
полигон, на
where it
котором
tests
испытывают
weapons and
вооружение
also
и ещё
advertises
рекламируют
NATO weapons.
оружие
Oh,
натовское.
these are
О,
good ones.
хорошие эти
Drones, look,
беспилотники
underwater.
подводные,
These
вот
600
600
meters
метров
of depth,
заглубления,
the Crimean
Крымский
Bridge.
мост.
Oh, we
О,
take it
это
there
мы
who
берем,
needs
там
it.
кому
Will you
надо.
take it,
Вы
France?
будете брать?
France?
Франция?
Hello.
Алло.
Oh, will you?
А,
You
будете?
will. That's
Будете.
enough there.
Всё, хватит.
Here. And I mean,
Вот. Ну,
this
то
is
есть
it,
вот
you
это,
know.
понимаешь?
Javelin, is there
Джавелина
anyone?
есть кто-нибудь?
What? You won't
Чё,
take
Джавелина
javelin?
брать не будете?
Zelensky.
Зеленский?
So,
Так,
let's
давай
write a
историю,
story,
короче,
in
пишем.
short. Let some pretty woman
Пускай
name her
какая-нибудь
baby
красотка
javelin there.
назовёт там своего ребёнка
Do you
Джавелина.
understand?
Понял ты?
We have a beauty,
У нас красотка
javelina
назвала
called
Джавелина.
OBJash.
О,
And
Джавелина.
javelin, what is it?
Что это?
And javelin.
Джавелина?
We have built a
Мы
factory in
построили в
Japan.
Японии
Despite
завод.
the fact that we
Несмотря
are
на то, что японцев
400,000 Japanese
400
people, we
тысяч
have
человек.
built a
В
special
Японии мы
factory in
построили
Japan for
специальный завод для
transmitters that
передатчиков,
will make
которые будут делать
javelins. Do you
джавелины.
understand?
Понял?
Look, that's it.
Вот,
And you'll
смотри,
say it
вот
like
так,
that.
так и
That's it.
скажешь.
Will
Всё,
you put
джавелины нам
javelins on us?
поставите?
We'll give you
Поставим вам
javelins. Do you need
джавелины.
leopards?
Леопарды надо
No?
вам?
I'm telling
Нет.
you again.
Я ещё раз
Well,
говорю. Ну,
let's give you
давайте
leopards.
леопарды дадим
If
вам,
you do
если
them
вы
well.
будете хорошо,
Well,
ну,
write
отзывы
cool
классные
reviews.
писать, нам
We
нужно
need to sell
продавать
it to
ну,
other
другим
countries.
странам.
We do
У
not
нас не
hear
слышно с
human
украинской
historians from
стороны
the Ukrainian side.
человеческих
In
историй.
fact,
По
everything is
факту
Jew lines
всё.
and 3 axes,
Джавелины,
Caesar
М3
howitzers.
топора,
That is, everything
гаубицы
is only
Цезарь,
about
то есть
weapons,
всё
about
только про
weapons,
оружие,
about
про оружие,
weapons.
про
And once a
оружие. И
week,
раз в
we
неделю
have a
у нас
new
новый
narrative.
нарратив.
Supplies B-16
Поставляет
fighters.
истребители F-16.
All headlines.
Все
America
заголовки.
supplies
Истребители
B-16
F-16
fighters.
Америка поставляет.
Attention, attention.
Внимание,
The latest
внимание,
issue of
свежий выпуск
newspapers.
газет.
Cluster munitions.
Кассетные
So,
боеприпасы.
something is not
Так, что-то
working.
не
Will
работает.
anyone take the
Кассетные
cassette
припасы будет
supplies?
кто-нибудь брать?
No one will
Никто не
take
будет
it.
брать.
So then,
Так,
journalists
значит,
and someone
журналистов.
else is needed. That's it.
Еще нужно
Cassettes. Shoot
Всё,
a video
кассет.
Ukrainians.
Снимайте
Oh,
видео,
we are
какое? Ой,
Ukrainians.
мы
Shoot
украинцы.
Ukrainians you this
Снимайте,
video,
украинцы,
where you will
вы
see
это
that how
видео,
beautifully
где
it
будет
flies and
видно, что
everything.
как
We
красиво
put
разлетается, и
500,000
всё,
Russians
наложен
there.
там
Is that
500
clear?
тысяч русских.
I see.
Понятно,
That's it.
понятно.
Have you
Всё,
taken it
сняли?
off?
Сняли.
Removed. That's
Всё,
it. We
показываем.
show it.
Франция,
France,
чего у вас там
what do you have there from
бронёного?
unsold? How's Storm Shadow?
Storm Shadow.
You came up with your
Какое
names.
название вы придумали?
Does anyone take Storm Shadow? No one takes it.
Никто
I
не
see.
берет.
Look,
Понятно.
in
Смотри, в
Lugansk,
Луганске там
we
у
have
нас есть
intelligence there.
разведданные, Британия
Britain is
вот
already
даёт.
giving it. There are
Есть
two
вот
flags
две
here.
располаги.
There will be a good fireworks
Туда
display
будет
there.
хороший
How
фейерверк.
many rockets
Сколько
do you
вам
need
ракет
for
надо
this
на эту
campaign?
операцию?
8.
8.
We give 6.
Даём
Okay,
6,
for
нормально.
example,
Например,
if
если
we
мы
are
говорим про
talking about
вооружение,
weapons,
я,
then I can
наверное,
probably
могу
be
считаться
considered an armament
специалистом
specialist,
вооружения, потому
because in
что
Russia.
в России
Probably
наверняка
no
никто из
one
такого
from as many
количества
NATO
нацистского
weapons as I
вооружения,
have
как я
fired
стрелял,
has
не
fired.
стрелял.
And here is
И
the
вот
AT4.
АТ-4,
They have such a
есть такой у них
Swedish-British, Swedish
шведско-британский,
grenade launcher more
шведский
precisely.
гранатомет,
It didn't sell at all.
он не
They
продавался
wrote
вообще.
there
Они там
that this is the
написали,
best
что это
grenade
лучший
launcher
гранатомет, потому
because in
что у него
addition to its armor
помимо
impact,
заброневого
it has
воздействия есть
several
еще
other
несколько
properties, which
свойств,
are a
которые
flash brighter than the sun.
вспышка ярче
Smoke in the
солнца,
engine compartment, immediately the oil lights
задымление
up.
в моторном отсеке, сразу же масло
Well,
загорается. Ну,
that
то
is
есть то,
what
что
happens in
происходит в
any
любом
explosion.
взрыве. Они
They
это
presented it
преподнесли,
as if
как
it
будто
were
это
additional options
дополнительные
that were
опции,
thought out by
которые
the
продуманы
designers in order to sell.
конструкторами для того, чтобы
That's it.
продать.
These
Вот
are
и всё.
marketing
Это
moves. I
маркетинговый
say
ход.
this as
Я
a
это
person
говорю
who
как
is here
человек,
because it's
находящийся
one thing
здесь,
there.
потому
I would
что
have performed there in the
одно
Moscow
дело, я в
studio.
московской
Yes,
студии
I
выступал
would
бы
have been
там,
a
да,
deputy there
депутатствовал
for
там на все,
everything
во
publicly and
всеуслышание
would have
и
received
получил
some
там
rubles there.
сколько-нибудь
And another
рублей.
thing is
А
when I
другое дело,
experienced
когда
all these
я все
attacks
эти обстрелы
together with the
пережил вместе с
residents of
жителями
Donbass,
Донбасса.
and I
И
am
я говорю
speaking
сейчас
now
от
on
лица
behalf of the
жителей
residents
Донбасса,
of
имею на это
Donbass,
полное право.
I have every
Потому
right
что
to do
это
this
уже
because this is already a
место, которое
place
стало моим
that has
домом,
become
и
my home. And for obvious reasons,
По понятным
there are also
причинам
a lot of
вокруг
arrivals
моего
around my
дома тоже
house.
очень много прилетов.
And you don't have such a
А у тебя не
thing
бывает
that you
такое,
want
что
to go
хочется
to a place
поехать
where
туда,
it's
где
quiet,
тихо,
where nothing rumbles.
где ничего
That
не
is
не
Moscow.
грохочет, то есть
In general,
Москву.
to be honest,
Вообще, честно
I
сказать,
don't
не
want to.
хочется.
You
Ты
wake up
каждое утро
every morning
просыпаешься,
and
и
something has
что-то
happened.
случилось.
You need
И
to
тебе
help
нужно
someone
кому-то
or save
помочь,
someone
или
there,
там кого-то
or pull
спасти,
someone out,
или
or
кого-то
pick up the pieces,
вытащить, или
make
собрать
knives.
осколки, сделать ножи.
Listen,
Слушай,
Mariupol is a city
город
of
контрастов.
contrasts. There has just been
Только
devastation,
что была
and look
разруха,
what a
посмотри, какое
beautiful
прекрасное
place.
место.
Yes, Cafe
Да,
Rich.
кафе
In
Рич.
general,
Вообще
it's super
супер
simple.
просто,
Everything
всё
is at
по
the
высшему
highest level.
разряду.
Well, I hope
Ну
that
да,
it will be
надеюсь,
like
что
this
вскоре
everywhere
везде
soon.
так
This is
будет.
not
не
only
только
Mariupol,
Мариуполь,
the city
город
of contrasts.
контрастов,
It will be in
в
other
других местах
places.
бывает.
You'll go to the
На
front
фронт
somewhere there for
заедешь куда-нибудь
Krasnaya
за
Polyana.
Красную
There's
Поляну,
also
там
like
тоже,
everything is in
типа,
ruins.
всё в
And
разрухе,
Bank
и
Cafe.
кафе.
Well, that
Ну, то
is,
есть,
a Russian person
русский
is an
человек
enterprising
предприимчивый
person.
человек,
So
поэтому
some kind
здесь
of
всё
nuggets
время
are born here
рождаются
all the
какие-то
time,
такие
which have
самородки,
done you
которые
something
бам,
so
и что
good.
такое хорошее
Are you
сделают.
already
А ты
used
уже
to
привык?
arrivals?
Are you going to go now?
Ты сейчас,
I want to
собираешься
eat it, of
поесть?
course.
хочу это
It's
поесть,
fine. A
конечно.
dream,
Нормально.
a satchel.
You have there in
Просто
Moscow.
в
In
Москве
Moscow,
ты
they
вообще
don't
не
feed it at
кормишь.
all. Are you used to arrivals here?
It happens that it
Бывает,
gets into the
рядом в дом
house
попадает,
nearby.
мне пофиг
I don't
вообще.
care at all.
И в
And
дом,
sometimes
бывает, попадает,
coffee
тоже
gets
пофиг.
into the house too.
Has your house been
Твой дом
hit?
попадал?
Well, next to
Ну,
the
рядом
house,
с домом, в
I got
соседний
into the
дом
next
попадало,
house.
да,
Yes,
вот на
the
днях
other day a
беспилотник
drone went there.
туда.
And in general,
А
when you
вообще, ты
fall
когда на
asleep at the
фронте
front,
засыпаешь,
I
и на
also
фронте
often go
тоже
there at the
часто
front. I
бывает,
spend
там,
several
бывает
days at the
несколько
front
дней
at
на
the same
фронте.
time.
Одновременно
Sometimes we
бывает,
can't leave
выехать
because
не
of the
можем из
shelling there,
обстрелов,
or
там,
the front
или
collapsed
там
a little bit there,
фронт
and you
чуть-чуть
can't get out.
рухнул. И тебе не получается
And they
выехать.
fall into the
И
building in
попадаешь
which
в то
you are
здание, в
sitting,
котором ты
of
сидишь,
course.
естественно.
And they fall into the trenches in
И в
which you are
окопы, в
sitting.
которых ты
Well,
сидишь,
that is,
попадает. Ну,
these
то
are
есть это
arrivals, close
прилеты,
breaks.
близкие
I have two
разрывы. У меня две
concussions.
контузии.
February
24
24th.
февраля.
It's beginning.
Начинается
At this
СВО.
time, it
Ты в это
seems to
время, мне
me,
кажется,
you are
находишься
here in the
здесь,
DPI.
ДНР.
How did you
Как
react
ты
to
на
it?
это
And how did the
отреагировал?
people who
И
were
как
around you,
отреагировали
near
на
you,
это люди, которые
react to
находились
it?
вокруг тебя, возле
Of
тебя?
course, the
Безусловно,
residents of
жители
Donbass were glad
Донбасса
that Russia
были
finally stood up
рады
for her.
тому, что Россия наконец за
For
нее
her, for
заступилась, за
Novorossiya,
нее, за
for
Новороссию,
him,
за него,
for
за
Donbass,
Донбасс,
for
за
these
этих
people,
людей.
because
Потому
there were
что
moods wandering around inside here
здесь
too,
внутри
that like,
тоже
yes,
бродили
Russia doesn't
настроения
need
такие,
us,
что типа,
they will
да
come
мы
to
России
protect us
нахрен
at
не
all.
нужны. Они придут вообще
Of
нас
course,
защищать.
all
Безусловно,
residents,
все
everyone,
жители, все,
well,
ну и мы,
we were
естественно,
naturally
воодушевлены
inspired
были, что
that finally this red line, which
наконец-то вот эта
everyone
красная
wanted to
линия,
overcome so
которую все
much,
так
that someone would have
хотели
the courage.
преодолеть, что вот у кого-то хватит
Finally,
смелости, наконец-то
Putin had the
Путина
courage to
хватило
overcome
этой
this
смелости
line,
эту линию
and now it
преодолеть, и
has
вот это
begun.
началось.
Therefore, there is
Поэтому
definitely,
тут
I think, that
однозначно,
all
я думаю,
residents
что
of
все жители
Donbass,
Донбасса,
who
которые
finally, by the time of their
окончательно к
Russification,
моменту
and,
СВО
well, in other
обрусели,
words, there were
и то
practically
есть
no
тут
people
не
here,
было
probably,
практически,
in my
наверное, на мой
opinion,
взгляд,
who would believe that
людей,
Russia was
которые бы
shelling them.
верили в то, что их обстреливает
Well,
Россия.
Russia is firing at them with
натовскими
NATO
боеприпасами
ammunition.
их
I
обстреливает
think it's
Россия. Я
just
думаю,
some of
что
those
это только
types. Well, yes, the
какие-то
petals were
такие,
scattered
типа, ну
around
да,
the city
лепестки
center by
разбросали
the
по
Russians
центру
themselves,
города
by
россияне
themselves.
сами точкой
Three
себе
axes were
ударили,
struck
там
there by
3
themselves,
топора и Хаймерс
and
где-то
Heimers
нашли, и
was
тоже
found somewhere,
сюда
and
же.
also here. Surely now the
Наверняка
Ukrainian who
сейчас
watches
украинцу,
this
который
interview,
смотрит это
he looks
интервью,
at me and thinks,
он на меня
what a
смотрит и думает,
disgusting dude,
какой
what are
мерзкий
you
чувак,
talking
что
about,
несешь?
which Azovians?
Какие
These are our
позорцы, это
guys
наши
who are
парни,
liberating
которые
Mariupol
там
there.
освобождают
They were born
Мариуполь,
here.
они тут
There's a
родились,
chemist
там
there,
химик,
this,
там
this.
вот это,
What are you
что ты
telling me here about
рассказываешь
some
тут про какие-то
atrocities and so
зверства
on?
и так далее.
I want to explain a
Я
little
для тебя
bit for
хочу,
you,
дорогой
dear
зритель,
viewer,
пояснить
when your
чуть-чуть,
guys were
когда
here.
ваши
These are
ребята
them.
здесь
You can
были, вот
watch,
эти
dear
вот,
friend,
они,
in our videos
можете
that we
смотреть,
published. For
дорогой
example,
друг,
one
в
sniper
наших
just
видео,
for fun
которые
tried
мы
to shoot two
публиковали.
skulls at the same
Например,
time.
один снайпер просто вот ради прикола попробовал прострелить два
The
черепа
civilians were
одновременно.
driving a car.
Гражданские ехали
Oh,
на
on this,
автомобиле,
on a
на этом,
motorcycle. They were
на
driving to their
мотоцикле.
son,
Они ехали
carrying
к своему
food,
сыну,
and the
везли
son
еду,
was with
а
cerebral
сын был с
palsy.
ДЦП.
Here,
Вот,
and
и
then
этого
we
сына мы
found
нашли
this
потом
son shrunken in his
усопшего в
little
своем
chair.
маленьком
He
кресле.
suffered.
Он
He did not think at
мучился,
that time
он
that there would be
на
some
тот момент не
commentator who who
думал,
would
что
say,
найдется какой-то
yes,
комментатор,
some
который скажет:
Azovians,
"Да какие
what about?
азовцы,
What
о чём-
fascists?
какие
We have some
фашисты, у
great
нас тут
guys here.
классные
Here,
ребята".
I shot
Вот
the head of
пострелил
2
в голову
people
2
at the same
человекам
time. It
одновременно.
turned out,
Получилось,
well, cool,
ну,
unreal
классно,
emotions.
нереальные эмоции.
Many liberals, they
Многие
use rhetoric such that, well,
либералы,
you were the first to
они
attack Ukraine,
используют
so
риторику
they
такую,
defend their
что
homeland, so they have more
ну,
truth.
вы же первые напали, типа, на Украину, поэтому они защищают свою родину, поэтому у них больше
Well,
правды.
if
Ну
they
вот
had
если бы
attacked,
они
then there would have
напали,
been a different
тогда бы
alignment.
уже другой расклад
And to
был.
make it
А
clear,
чтобы было
well,
понятно,
at what time, how
ну,
far was the front from
во
Donetsk?
сколько фронт находился от
But 4
Донецка? Ну, 4
kilometers.
километра.
That is, on
То
a
есть
well-prepared
на
armored
хорошо
group with
подготовленной
massive artillery
бронегруппе с
preparation, it
массированной
was possible to
подготовкой в
go through the
сутки
whole of
можно
Donetsk
было
in a
пройти
day,
весь Донецк
probably until
насквозь,
the evening
наверное,
completely.
до вечера.
And I do not exclude that our units would have fought like wolves because they fought for their land, but nevertheless they would have swept away Donbass. If they hadn't just dared him. The Minsk agreements, that is, this truce was used to increase the armament of Ukraine. And at that moment, we didn't actually attack, we counterattacked, because from day to day, and we knew it, we were preparing for it, and the security forces knew about it. We also have counterintelligence, we also have scouts in the rear there, and everything else. That is, people who know perfectly well what plans Ukraine has. Because it's one thing when you told one person, but when you told an army of thousands of guys, get ready, we have exercises on the border with Donbass the day after tomorrow. Well, all relatives of relatives who are from that side, from this side, and from all sides, will find out about it. That is, there is nothing to hide here. It is impossible to withhold an order.
Were some forces formed?
Armored groups, NATO weapons, all these British mercenaries, that is, all the instructors, were driven in, all worked hard to go and start taking Donbass back on a specific designated day, and then take Crimea. And then there may be something else. That's it. Therefore, we took that forced step that the Ukrainian political leadership actually pushed us into. That's it, together with, first of all, Western collective management. Weren't we supposed to protect these people? And we had to sacrifice them, because these actresses, there are benefactors like Chulpan Khamatova, they have never been here. And here what? Other people. Do other Ukrainians live here? Are there third-class people here or what? They don't need help because they are occupied by Russia in their opinion. That is, they don't need help because they are some kind of bad children. That is, the miscarriage of Ukraine, well, that is a cancerous tumor. That is, some people are not like that.
That's ironic, right? They call you a propagandist today. Smolyanov made a statement that he would have shot his colleague who defends the fatherland. What do you say about this?
What would I say to the fact that he is capable of shooting his colleague? I think he has either gone mad or he is very much lost. I think it was some kind of impulse.
A rush of what?
A rush of feelings. Because when you see that someone is conditionally being killed there with you, you don't understand the reasons, do you? And you don't look at other cameras. What happened? You want to see this situation right now like this. You want to publicly declare it. Just as Chulpan Khamatova did, for example, who seems to be helping people, but at the same time, I have never seen her in the Donbass, for example. And why doesn't she like people in the Donbass? How do they differ from Ukrainian children in Odessa, for example? Or how do they differ from children near Moscow? Is it really about the fact that you sort of divide people into castes? Or are you like there are good people? There are not so many. There are people whom I will not help for political reasons. I will not go to the Crimea, and I will not go to the Donbass because, what? And it's very simple, that you will not be accepted by European or Western society. It's important to you what people think of you. It's important to you, not these children who are here and now. It doesn't matter to you. It's important to you what will happen to you, what will happen to your income, and so on. We're just moving around.
Oh, that's it. I get it.
That's what we're moving for, because if they start targeting us, they can sort of.
Clearly.
We may get TV shows there.
Where do you live? Where do you want to take it?
Bring it up. Yeah.
How are you here? We are waiting. What are you waiting for?
Yes, what?
Who knows what? Is there a light? Not there. Next. Next. Thank God. Yeah. Yes, they didn't wet it. Fold it up. Do you live here alone or with someone? With my son. With your son. Well, at least there it is. On the contrary, they were overwhelmed. Oh, they blew it up, yes. Into this one over there. That's where the red roof is. You have it there. Yee. Why aren't you leaving? And where to go? Nowhere. Somewhere in Russia. Nowhere is quieter. My house, I'm afraid. Nice house, solid.
The camera.
Wait a little bit. A little bit.
Of course, we are waiting.
Hello. Hi there. Hi there. What's your name? My name is Lillian. What about you? How are you guys doing?
It's fine.
If you were free, why not leave, guys? They left.
Then what? Well, we're falling in love. We live.
Yes, come. Why are you coming back? Check it out.
You have to be at home. Yes, of course.
Are you home? Oh, lie down.
There is no other truth here. Here you will not wait for the truth. Like, yes, you know, when Russia came, of course, we all began to live worse here. In a sense, maybe they began to live worse because they began to be shelled more, yes, but not because Russia came here. Because there was no Russia when there were shooters here. Many people say, aha, Strelkov, like isn't this a Russian? I say, well, Strelkov, of course, is a Russian, but there is no one there to go to Slavyansk. There is no Russian Strelkov to go in 10 and come out of there already with an army of many thousands. This must have been a good gift of persuasion for the Go, to convince all this brotherhood to join the militia in literally 2 days and go to fight back against the horsemen. Think about it. Means what? So the mood was like this. So all the people who were here were at that moment, they were all pro-Russian population. They had a clear conviction that there was a horde of some nationalists in the countries that seized power in an illegitimate way, burned down the House of Trade Unions, burned Golden Eagles. Well, that is, it does not happen that it happens overnight, like this. They're all like, I'm a militiaman. No, of course, they were Ukrainians who loved their homeland. But something went wrong, and they had to love their small homeland and defend their small homeland from their big homeland in due time. But in fact not from the motherland, of course, from people who... Well, that is, it is clear that the West directs all these stories. All of this is happening one by one. There are heavenly hundreds, all of these here. These revolutions of Gidnost, these cookies, who does not jump, is a Muscovite, and so on. Like where does the narrative come from? About who doesn't jump, that's a Muscovite. Like where does the narrative of Moskalyak on Gilyak come from? Like from where? Like, well, Donbass. Like, well, it's good to hate some hypothetical shooter there. And what does all the Russians have to do with it? Moskovsky Prospect is being renamed Stepan Bandera because it's a make-believe, but because it's a Russian trigger. So we'll rename it for now. Okay, well, like so that they get a little crazy there, yes. At the same time, few people remember that he Upa is a single inspired. This is just the same Stepan Bandera, who, in principle, with all this movement and Volhynia, this Katan, Bloody Sunday, people were driven into these temples there and killed with pitchforks 100,000 people. Poles just like that, because it is. And he cynically, this Zelensky in Warsaw, they carry there, in short, these wreaths there, like in memory of the fallen Poles. But at the same time, you have Stepan Bandera Avenue, and it's kind of normal for you, right? In other words, it's the same thing if we were calling Hitler Avenue somewhere in Moscow right now, simply because it triggers someone. Yes, that's just it. And them.
I am not to blame for this conflict. Tell me, as a person who lives here, who understands something about this, but I really don't. Yes, between Russia and Ukraine.
Russia protects its interests. It feels like America thinks it's holding Ukraine's doll like this, and we're like, who's holding it? Yeah, who's holding her? That is, and someone's Abrams in general, that is, does anyone produce Abrams at all? No, well, that is, she delivers it all.
This.
Open America is at war with Russia, and we understand this, but we are not like, well, we are at war with Ukraine, yes. They wanted to host NATO bases. They don't hide it. It was the same in Iraq, in Iran. It was also in Afghanistan. Yes, everywhere America comes, everywhere. That is, for some reason, we do not condemn it. America, yes, there, for the Japanese cities destroyed there. Although it is, well, it's creepy. It's genocide. Yes, that is for this. Well, just a bomb. Well, 400,000 people were gone. Well, how many more of these Japanese are there? Right? Well, that is. This is the attitude. And they managed to turn all this information around so that we still think that American cars are better there, American soldiers are cooler, American fighters are 16 times cooler, HIMARS is cooler, and so on. In other words, it switches us to weapons, it switches us to territories, to money, but not to people. And ultimately, America is doing well because they support a weak Ukraine, and weak Ukraine. This is, in fact, a neighboring fraternal country, a Slavic one, which speaks Russian, all of a sudden, it starts taking money from some neighbor and says, "Give me a weapon. I'll go this brother of mine." Well, a little bit. He says, "Yes, please." He comes here, and you kick him in the teeth. He says, "Look, it didn't work, did it? Well, anything else? Well, are there any more options?" In the information we lose significantly. It's true. That is, for some reason, it seems to Russians that the truth is on the side of Ukraine. Some. Even after they enter Belgorod, all sorts of route and so on. After they kill our citizens on Crimean bridges and so on. They don't care all the time. It seems to them that the truth is on the side of Ukraine. Only that's only because here we entered the Ukrainian land first. America and the whole world are now together with NATO. Well, because it includes a huge number of countries. They supply everything. Just think about it. They are all these Bradleys, Leopards and T4, Swedish, British grenade launchers are supplied to kill Russians and kill Ukrainians in the Donbass. Because there are Ukrainians in the Donbass. There was Ukraine in the Donbass. Then it became a separate territory. Then now it has already become Russian. But nevertheless, they are still the same Ukrainians. Mariupol is the same Ukrainians. Rockets are flying here. They are shooting them down. They are trying, but they arrive in elderly neighborhoods. They kill Ukrainians and Russians. That is, you start the morning F-16 America will put. Oh, Storm Shadow, a dot. So you read how America supplies weapons to kill your compatriots, and you're like, I am against war. Seriously. That is, I understand when they did it in disguise, during the Minsk agreements, during grain deals. But when you are openly told that America supplies cluster munitions, after all, at what point should you believe that America? Is it evil? When will they do what? Will they come and rape your children? Well, when?
Let's leave some more.
No, guys.
What do you mean?
Well, everything is there. What do you mean? You see, I still have the 14th year in my eyes. Probably from the store. He unwrapped the bag. He has a quarter of the blackest bread there. And so he sat down on the shelf. That's it. That's it. It is impossible to forget and forgive it. My mother died in the 18th year, and she sees me every day. I've been there 4 or 5 times. She's just for me every time, again, and they came to wane us. Why did you come to kill? Well, we survived the occupation. The mine was restored. The plant was restored. Naked, hungry. But we were walking, working. Is that why they came to kill us? I say, that's what they came for. Guys, thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Be healthy.
God forbid you.
And God bless you.
Ivan Viktorovich.
Very nice. Ivan Viktorovich. We've brought you some groceries.
Oh, come on, come on. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And so, that's what it is. We will be glad to.
Yes. How is life? And let's do it again.
Bye. And what happens next? Who knows? Hope does not die.
Yes.
As they say, they were born here, and as they say.
And you live.
And we will continue to live.
Why isn't he leaving?
And where to go? Where to? To what? Give up everything, and then what? And what's there? Who will be waiting for us there? Or, well, they will accept it for a while. And then,
well, have there been any more arrivals to you? Did anything hurt?
It was, of course.
Flew straight in.
They cut it, and they killed all the windows, so.
Yee.
What happened?
That's what it is now. Roll call.
As they say, like music we have.
Yee.
Then there, then there, then there, then there. In general, these are the pirog.
Well, I still don't understand how. Why do they stay? Here? Well, yes. 20 years.
Yeah.
What? It was a departure now, right?
Well, this is a departure from here. Somewhere a tank is working. Yeah. No.
And then, is he going to fly here now?
Of course.
We have to leave. And why do we open the windows? To what? To here.
So that you don't have glasses on your face. But I sincerely hope that Ukrainians will understand at some point that we still have an external enemy, not an internal one. Because no matter how we kill each other, sooner or later, I hope we will unite in one group, in one.
в одну группу,
I don't
в
know.
одну,
Well,
там,
let
не
it
знаю,
go to
ну,
any
пускай не в
country,
одну
but
страну,
maybe
но,
to a
может быть,
number
в
of
ряд
allied
союзных
states.
государств.
Because
Потому
when you
что
suddenly cancel the most
когда
important trigger event,
ты
the
внезапно
9th of May,
отменяешь
and
самое
call it
главное
Europe Day,
триггерное событие 9 мая и называешь его Днем Европы,
well, like, come
ну,
on,
типа,
okay.
ну, давай,
The
хорошо.
next holiday,
Следующий
let's call
праздник, День
Children's Day
защиты
Pedophile Day.
детей, назовем Днем
Let's
педофила.
call the Independence
День
Day of Ukraine
независимости
the
Украины
day of a Gestapo
назовем
employee, for
День
example.
работника
And so
гестапо,
on.
например.
In
Ну и
other
так далее.
words,
То есть
it's not only the
это
trigger of
же
Russians, it's the
не
trigger
только
of
триггерит
Ukrainians,
русских, это
whose
ведь украинцев
great-grandfathers
триггерит,
died during
чьи
the Great
прадеды погибли
Patriotic
во время
War.
Великой
So just
Отечественной
like
войны.
that,
Поэтому
take all the victory,
просто
all
вот
the
так вот
memory
взять
of the ancestors,
всю победу,
looking into
всю
the
память
face of my
предков,
grandfather,
глядя
and
в
say, but
лицо
we have
деду и
Russia there,
сказать,
it
ну
attacked the
нас там
Donbass,
Россия,
so we, in
Донбасс
short,
напала,
will cancel
поэтому
the
мы,
holiday in
короче,
honor of you
пока
for
отменим
now,
праздник в
okay,
честь
but
вас,
we will
ладно,
return it later
но мы
somehow. And in the
потом
meantime,
как-нибудь
it's,
вернем,
you know,
а пока еще
Stepan
это,
Bandera
знаешь,
pisses
их
them off in
Степан
general
Бандера
like this.
бесит
We're
вообще
still
вот
going to
так
call
вот. Мы
Stepan
еще
Bandera
Степан
something
Бандерой
there.
назовем,
Okay,
кое-что
and
там,
you know
ладно.
what else?
А
We
еще
have
знаешь, что у нас
50,000 of these homos.
50
We took
тысяч
them
этих
into the
гомиков
army
мы взяли в
simply
армию,
because these,
просто
you
потому
know
что
how
эти,
gay they
знаешь, как
infuriate.
голубые бесят.
Horror, they
Ужас.
experience
Они
such a
такой
crunch
кринж
simply.
испытывают просто.
Well, that is,
Ну,
you
то есть,
know, it's already
понимаешь,
reaching its
настолько
apogee,
уже
that is,
доходит до
prides,
апогея, то
this
есть
whole
прайды,
Doveket.
голубятня,
That
вот
is,
это все.
so
То есть
much is the
настолько
destruction
идет
of all
разрушение
family
всех
values,
семейных
and it's not
ценностей,
in us
и
trigger,
это не в нас
it's you there at
триггерит.
least as you
Поэтому
want. The
хоть как
question is
хотите,
not that.
вопрос
The
не в
question
этом.
is
Вопрос
that
в
we
том,
know
что мы
that
знаем,
there is
что
a
там
normal
есть нормальное
population there
население,
who don't like it
которому это
either.
тоже не
When will it
нравится.
end?
Когда это закончится?
When will it end?
Когда
It
это
will end when
закончится
Zelensky.
тогда, когда Зеленский,
Well, for
ну,
now I
пока что
say
я говорю
Zelensky.
Зеленский,
In general,
вообще я имею в
I
виду,
mean, of
конечно,
course, the
политическую
political elite of
элиту
Ukraine,
Украины,
until they understand
пока они не
that Russia
поймут,
cannot
что
be
России
defeated
не
on the
победить на поле
battlefield,
боя,
when they don't come to
когда они
terms with it,
смирятся с
as
этим,
Japan
как
once
в
came
свое
to
время
terms with the
Япония
fact that
смирилась с тем,
America
что
is stronger.
Америка сильнее,
And they will understand
и они
that we
поймут,
are
что
closer to
мы
them than
им
some
ближе,
Americans.
чем
Then,
какие-то
probably, we
америкосы,
will unite,
тогда, наверное, мы
restore
сплотимся,
our normal family
объединимся,
values when we
восстановим
restore the
наши
right attitude to
нормальные семейные
religion,
ценности,
when we
когда мы
understand
восстановим
together that the
правильное
9th of May
отношение
should
к
be
религии,
returned
когда
and
мы
this holiday should be
вместе поймем,
celebrated all
что 9
together.
мая нужно
That's when
вернуть
I think this is
и
all going
чествовать
to
этот
end.
праздник все вместе, вот тогда, я думаю, это все закончится.
When will it end?
Когда все
But it's
закончится.
going to end,
Ну, ведь
right?
закончится,
Yes.
правильно?
Да.
Will you leave here?
Ты уедешь отсюда?
Somewhere in Moscow,
Куда-нибудь в Москву,
Cantimancius, or
Ханты-Мансийск,
somewhere
еще
else.
куда-нибудь.
Listen to me.
That
Да,
is,
слушай, мне
when
Вот
кажется,
тогда
people
уже
no
не
longer
нужна
need
будет
help,
помощь
will you
людям.
stay
Ты
or leave?
останешься или уедешь?
And I told you, it
А я
seems
же говорил,
initially,
кажется,
that I'm not here
изначально,
because of helping
что
people.
я здесь не из-за помощи людям.
I'm here because of
Я
myself.
здесь из-за себя.
Because
Потому что
I'm going to live here.
я буду
Do
здесь
you remember
жить.
how in the
Помнишь,
movie
как в
This
фильме,
Brother Too?
этот, «Брат 2»?
I like it here.
Мне
I'm
здесь
staying.
нравится. Я остаюсь.
I'll tell you now.
Сейчас скажу тебе
I
сейчас.
got the impression
Мне сложилось
that you
такое
are in some
впечатление,
kind
что
of
ты
public
находишься
solitude.
в неком таком публичном одиночестве.
Do you even have a girl,
тебя есть
a
вообще
woman? I do
девочка,
not know.
женщина, я не
Well,
знаю?
who do you at least
Ну, с кем
meet,
ты хотя бы
see each
встречаешься,
other?
видишься, как
How
ты
do you
проводишь
spend your
время?
time?
Me, I don't like to
ж
discuss
такое,
this
как
at
бы,
all.
не люблю
I see.
обсуждать.
You know,
Понятно,
you have
значит, у тебя
someone.
кто-то есть.
Well, there must be
Ну,
someone.
наверняка кто-то
Yes.
есть, да.
Yes.
Да.
So I find a use with
Поэтому
talent.
я нахожу применение своим талантам.
Well, if we're talking about love,
Если мы говорим про любовь,
well, if you open up
если
this
раскрыть
question
немножко
about
этот
family
вопрос
values a
про
little
семейные
bit, if
ценности,
that's the
если об
question,
этом вопрос,
then yes, I
то,
consider myself
да, я
defective.
считаю себя
That is like
бракованным.
me.
То
I'm not
есть,
doing this because.
типа, я
Well,
этого не делаю не
like,
потому, что,
conditionally,
условно,
I'm
не
not
женюсь,
getting
не
married,
потому, что
not
я
because I
не
haven't
нашел
found
любовь,
love
да,
right, but because I'm
а потому
afraid
что я
that I won't be able to be a
боюсь,
full-fledged member of
что
this society, and I won't be
я не
able to
смогу
create
быть
a
полноценным
full-fledged
членом
family.
этого общества и не смогу создать полноценную
And so,
семью. И вот
Here is this fear that,
вот
like,
этот страх
there will
о
be
том,
children,
что
and suddenly I
типа
have some
появятся
kind of
дети,
genetic such
а
that the
вдруг
same thing
у
will
меня
happen to
какая-то
them. That happened to me
генетическая
once.
что с ними случится то же самое, что со мной
And I had, of
когда-то.
course,
И
a dream once to have children there,
у
to
меня
make a
была,
bunk
конечно,
bed.
мечта
They
когда-то
would do
там
it there.
завести детей, сделать двухъярусную кроватку, они бы
But
там
considering that I
но
haven't figured out my
учитывая,
black room
что
yet, which is
я
still
еще не
dusty
разобрался
and
в своей
children's
черной
toys are
комнате, в
lying, and
которой
it's
все
still
так же
just as dark
пыльно
and
и
scary.
лежат детские игрушки, и и все еще так же темно и страшно.
I think that
Думаю,
finally,
что
we need to
окончательно
first
сначала
sort out the thoughts like, am I ready for this breakthrough, or
собраться
am
с
I still?
мыслями, типа, готов ли я к этому рывку, или все же мне,
Or should I leave this
или все
ideal
же мне
alone?
оставить покое эту идею.
Because, well,
Потому
yes,
что,
we
да,
are
на
being
нас
pressured
давят
by
на
all of
всех
this society
это
from the
общество
point
с
of
точки
view
зрения, что
that you
ты
should have children, should get
должен
married,
завести
you
детей,
still have to
должен
give
жениться,
birth,
тебе
and
еще
this is
рожать,
all
и вот
about
это
all
вот все
people.
про всех людей.
It seems to me
Мне
that a
кажется, человек
person
никому
does
ничего не
not owe
должен,
anyone
потому
anything,
что
because if you think after my
если вы
fate
после
that
моей
someone
судьбы
owes
думаете, что
someone
кто-то
something,
кому-то что-то
then
должен,
you
то
are
вы
mistaken. In my life,
ошибаетесь.
there
В
was no
моей жизни
state
не было
until I was
государства до
20
20
years old,
лет, впрочем, как и
however,
каких-либо
as well as any
документов.
documents. And I still
И у
don't
меня
have
до сих
my
пор
own
нет своей
apartment.
квартиры,
I still have a lot
у
of
меня до
complexes,
сих пор
and I'm
есть
afraid to
куча
stumble in
комплексов,
line and not
и
have time
я
to pay before
боюсь
the seller asks about it,
в
or not to pay
очереди
by minibus.
споткнуться и не успеть заплатить до того, как об этом спросит продавец, или не заплатить в маршрутном
I have
такси.
a complex all the time
У
that
меня
someone
все
might
время
think
комплекс, что
that I
кто-то может
decided to
подумать,
drive
что
like a
я
hare,
решил
or I
проехать
have a
зайцем, или у меня
complex that I
комплекс, что
am,
я,
that I don't have the
что у
money
меня
to
нет
buy these
денег
products,
на то,
and
чтобы
I want
купить
to
эти
pay the money
продукты, и мне
faster
хочется
so that
быстрее
everyone
заплатить деньги, чтобы
understands.
все
And if
поняли.
I can ever
И
be met
если
only with the
меня можно
Baltic
когда-нибудь
Zero,
встретить
and I have
только
to,
с
so that
Балтикой нулевкой, я
it
должен,
is
чтобы
important that
важно,
everyone
чтобы все
sees that
видели, что
this
это
is
Балтика
Baltic
нулевка,
Zero,
потому что я
because I
все
always
время
want to
хочу
prove to the
доказать
world
миру, что
that I
я
am a person, that I
человек,
am
что
not,
я
that not all
что
street
не все
kids,
беспризорники,
prostitutes, murderers,
проститутки,
thieves,
убийцы,
and that you see
воры,
I behave
и что
normally,
вот видите,
well.
я веду себя нормально,
Maybe you will
хорошо,
not
может
accept
быть,
into
вы
your
примете
tribe.
меня в свое
Outwardly,
племя.
I may
Внешне
seem
я могу
normal, but
казаться
inside I'm still a
нормальным,
waif.
а внутри я все еще остаюсь
But there are
беспризорником.
definitely
Но
people I love.
совершенно точно есть люди, которых
And
я
even
люблю,
if it's such a
и
homeless love,
пускай
it's
это
completely
такая
harmless.
беспризорническая любовь, она совершенно
My
безобидная.
family is now
Моя семья
Donbass.
сейчас
This is my
Донбасс,
team.
это вот моя команда,
This is my cameraman. This is a
это
designer
мой
girl, an
оператор,
advertising manager.
это девушка, дизайнер,
I
рекламный
just
менеджер.
have,
У меня просто,
such
знаете,
a
такой
period.
период,
That
то
is,
есть
I'm like
мне типа
38 years
38
old,
лет,
but inside I'm just
но
starting to live.
внутри я только начинаю жить.
It is clear that there is an
Понятно, что
image
есть
of a
образ
commander
команданта,
who
который
speaks in this
говорит вот
voice,
таким голосом,
guys,
парни,
so
так,
maybe
может,
we'll do
займемся
something
чем-нибудь
else,
другим,
or
или
just
просто
stare
будем
at the
пялиться
Ilyich plant.
на завод
And
Ильича.
there is a frank,
И
kind,
есть
sincere
человек
person.
откровенный, добрый,
And I am like this
искренний, и
only with very close
я
people.
таким бываю только с очень родными, близкими людьми.
But in short, I just
Но,
decided to save this loser guy
короче,
who is
я просто
always
решил спасти
embarrassed to go
этого
to the
парня,
store somewhere in the
неудачника,
backyard because he
который
is in defense clothes
вечно
and
где-то
so
в
on.
задворках стесняется зайти в магазин, потому что он в оборванной одежде
And
и
in
так
short,
далее. И,
I
короче,
protect him in every
я его
possible way,
охраняю
and I hope
всячески.
that.
И надеюсь, что
I hope that no one will
надеюсь,
offend
что
him.
его никто не
What
будет обижать.
difference does it make
Какая
where you
разница,
kind of
где
grew up?
ты, типа,
Well, of
вырос?
course, this is
Ну,
wrong. I'm not
безусловно,
telling the truth
это
right now.
неправильно. Я
I
сейчас
say
говорю
like it doesn't
неправду. Я
matter what
говорю,
kind of environment you
типа,
grew up
неважно,
in.
в какой
There's a
среде ты
family of
вырос,
drug
там,
addicts
семья
or someone
наркоманов или
else,
еще
and you're
кого-то, и ты
like,
такой,
do
типа,
you have an inner core?
что тебе
Yes,
есть внутренний
it can't
стержень?
be,
Да
because
не
it's like
может
quitting
быть, потому
smoking.
что это
You're
как
like
бросить
saying,
курить. Ты, типа,
you know,
говоришь,
I'm going to
знаешь,
quit
я завтра
tomorrow,
брошу, но
but
по
in
факту
fact,
ты
you have to decide inside
внутри себя
yourself
должен
whether a
решить.
book
Тебе не
or
поможет
some kind of
книга или
heart-to-heart
какой-то
conversation won't
разговор
help
по
you,
душам,
or
или о
that
том,
your
что тебя
kidneys will
откажут
fail,
почки.
maybe
Может быть,
impotence, or what
импотенция,
will
или
you
что ты
choose?
выберешь?
Breast
Рак
cancer?
груди?
I
У
have
меня
an inner
есть
core,
внутренний
and this
стержень, и
inner
этот
core,
внутренний
it
стержень,
is not
он
created
не
just like
создается
that,
просто
like
так,
I have
типа,
an
вот у
inner
меня есть
core.
внутренний
The
стержень.
inner
Внутренний
core
стержень
is
—
what
это
you
то,
are.
что ты,
This is your moral
это
principle
твой моральный
on which it is
принцип, на
based,
котором
on which you
зиждется, на
string
котором
all
ты
your
нанизываешь
years.
все свои годы.
Well, what you
Ну,
didn't have, of course, you
то,
probably
чего у
won't
тебя
be
не было,
able
ты,
to
конечно
reimburse your
же,
family or
наверное, не
something there.
сможешь возместить там семью или
But you
еще что-то.
absolutely
Но
choose
ты
whether to be a
совершенно
good
точно
person or a
выбираешь, быть
bad
тебе
one.
хорошим человеком или
Because you're
плохим.
not in the
Потому
first
что ты не
grade
в
to
первом
choose
классе,
to
чтобы
kill a person,
выбирать,
is it bad or
убить
good?
человека — это
No,
плохо или
I'm going to
хорошо.
kill him.
Нет, я
Why?
убью его.
Yes,
Почему? Ну,
because
потому
life has been
что
unfair to
жизнь
me.
была ко мне
You know,
несправедлива.
I read The
Знаете, я
Prisons when I
прочитал
was in
в тюряге,
prison.
когда сидел,
I
я
read the
прочитал
work Gadfly,
произведение
and
«Овод».
they're about the life of a
И
man
там про
who,
жизнь
in
человека,
general, was
который,
crippled
в
by
общем,
fate.
его
He was
искалечила
broken,
судьба, его
and there he was a
переломали, и
revolutionary.
там он был
He was crippled there by
революционером,
fate
его там
in such a way
искалечила
that
судьба
God
так,
forbid
что не дай
everyone.
бог
And
каждому. И
here
вот
we are
мы
trying as a
пытаемся,
spectator to
как
justify his
зритель,
act, that he killed
оправдать
someone
его
because he
поступок,
was
что он
crippled
кого-то
by
убил,
fate.
потому что его искалечила судьба.
But that's not true,
Но это
because we all
неправда,
know
потому
what black and
что
white are.
мы все знаем, что такое
We
черное
all
и
know
белое.
that it's
Мы все
bad to
знаем,
kill people,
что плохо
that it's
убивать
bad to
людей,
rape
что
people,
плохо
and
насиловать
no matter
людей.
what past past you hide behind, you will never be able to justify or
обосновать или
justify these
оправдать эти
actions.
поступки ты никогда не сможешь.
Only what is in you inside,
Только то, что
that
есть в
is,
тебе
what you
внутри,
feel
то есть
that.
то, что ты чувствуешь, что
Well, yes, You grew up like in a bad family. You didn't actually have one. You saw a lot of things there. And in the Donbass, I saw even more. There may be a lot of uneven bodies there. There are children who were killed by the horsemen, and I know what they're doing wrong. And the fact that a shell flew into a civilian object somewhere there is also wrong. And the fact that killing a child there with your own hands is also wrong, like everything that crosses your moral values. And here is the inner core. This is exactly the line that you, as a person, should not cross. My story, it's like this. It's not just filled with the fact that I'm such a good guy and that's it.
No.
After this interview, maybe someone will say, a fool, he has been doing half his life, so he has remained like that. There's something there now, some kind of bends. But I told you how it is end, and if you want more details, subscribe quickly. Okay, this is a joke. Yes, well, in general, my life right now may not be super happy, but it's good. I live among people, and I am happy that I joined the ranks of people who, seeing me for the first time, will never say this guy is a waif or this guy stole children's toys as a child. They'll just say, this is a good guy, a good car, or they will say, oh, this is a big caliber commotion, we can take pictures with you. Many people remember me as an Angel battalion that saved many lives, and the other day there was such a case. I was driving from the front, I stopped by to get a shawarma, and a soldier came up to me from behind and was like, oh brother. It turns out that this is the guy I rescued and his family from a virtually burning house in one locality near the front line. And now he is already a healthy military man who joined the Battalion of Somalia. And he told you, dude, I know you not as a large-caliber commotion, but as the commander of the Angel Battalion, and it's worth a lot. Hello. Well, you can pour it right here, and I'll ask here, is he in bags? In bags, yes. Of course, it's convenient. In short, that's it. The KP team does not throw words to the wind. Therefore, we begin to drag. That's it? So well, our hands are dirty. In short, the mission is completed. That's it. The guys have pumped up a little. Hands as black as oil, at the same time painted. I also turn out to be my favorite, that she's okay. It's like this. We have another grandmother. We'll stop by her place too. Have a nice day, everyone.
And the final question, the traditional one. What would you like to have written on your coffin board?
What would I like to have written on my coffin board? Well, I wasn't actually going to die. All right, death is sad on the one hand, but on the other hand, it seems to me that I have died so often and tried to die so often that I am not afraid of death in its final stage. So what would I write on this coffin board? Go to hell. And I didn't manage to get in line with these fucking tribe. Okay, just kidding. Yeah, you know, I probably would have written something like, it was cool. That's it. That's all I have to write because, well, if you evaluate my story from the outside, like about myself, you got out of that shit, you went that way, and you kind of didn't become shit in the end. That's cool. And so I probably would have written, yes, it was cool.